10 minutes before I was supposed to cross the stage, my father looked straight at the dean and said, "Leah has always known how to land on her feet. Her brother needed this day more." My younger brother Evan stood beside him in a new suit, staring at the floor. My mother gripped her purse with both hands. On the table between us lay a complaint accusing me of lying to obtain my scholarship. I opened my folder and placed one printed email in front of Dean Patel. The first sentence read, "If Leah is recognized publicly, Rachel will start asking where the tuition money went." My father stopped smiling. Welcome to Reddit Gossip R. 4 weeks earlier, I still believed my graduation might be the one day my family allowed me to keep. My name is Leah Morgan. I was 27 years old, and it had taken me 7 years to complete a 4-year accounting degree. I did not take 7 years because I was lazy or indecisive. I took 7 years because I worked night shifts at a downtown hotel, usually from 11 in the evening until 7 in the morning. I attended classes in the afternoon, slept when I could, and learned how to balance a hotel ledger while surviving on vending machine coffee. Night auditing suited me. Every charge had a source, every payment had a timestamp. When numbers did not match, I could usually find the exact moment something had gone wrong. People were harder. In my family, the numbers had never matched, but I had spent most of my life pretending they did. My younger brother Evan was 23. He was charming, funny, and permanently on the verge of his next big opportunity. He had started a graphic design program, quit after 1 semester, launched a clothing brand that lasted 6 months, and then opened an online sneaker resale business with money my father called an investment. Whenever Evan failed, Dad said he was brave for trying. Whenever I struggled, Dad said I had made poor choices. That difference had shaped nearly every family event I could remember. At my 16th birthday dinner, Evan announced that he had made the junior varsity basketball team. Dad ordered a second cake. At my high school awards ceremony, Evan had a panic attack because his girlfriend broke up with him. My parents left before my name was called. When I moved into my first apartment, Dad used the family gathering to announce that Evan was taking a gap year to find his purpose. I told myself graduation would be different because this achievement was too concrete to be moved aside. I had earned every credit, I had paid every bill, I had worked through nights when my feet ached so badly that I took off my shoes beneath the hotel desk and answered guest calls in my socks. 3 months before graduation, the university notified me that I had been selected for the Marjorie Bell Perseverance Scholarship Award. It was given to one graduating student who had completed a degree while overcoming significant financial or personal barriers. The award came with a small final semester grant, but the money was not the part that mattered most to me. The scholarship recipients would be recognized at a private breakfast on graduation morning. Each recipient could reserve 4 seats for family members. My name and a short version of my story would also appear in the commencement program. For once, the difficult years would not be treated like evidence that I had fallen behind. They would be recognized as evidence that I had kept going. I called my mother first. She cried and said, "I knew you would finish." Then she added, "Your father always said you were the determined one." That sentence should have bothered me more than it did. Determined was the word my family used when they wanted to praise me without admitting I had been left to handle something alone. Dad called me 20 minutes later. "Your mother told me about the award," he said. "That's great, Leah. Really great." I waited for him to say he was proud of me. Instead, he asked, "How many people can come to the breakfast?" 4. "Perfect. You, your mother, me, and Evan." I'm already counted separately. "The 4 seats are for guests." There was a pause. "So we can invite Aunt Rachel too," I said. Dad cleared his throat. "We'll figure it out." The following Sunday, my parents invited me to lunch. Evan was already seated when I arrived, tapping the edge of his phone against the table. Dad waited until our food came before announcing that Evan had been offered a sales position at a luxury car dealership. "It's not official yet," Evan said. "It will be," Dad replied. "They would be lucky to have you." Then Dad turned to me. "We were thinking your graduation weekend could celebrate both of you." I put down my fork. "What does that mean?" "Nothing complicated. You're graduating. Evan is starting a serious career. 2 good things happening in the family. The university breakfast is specifically for scholarship recipients. I know that. And the graduation party is supposed to be my graduation party." Dad leaned back as though I had misunderstood something obvious. "No one is taking that away from you. We're talking about making space for your brother." I looked at Evan. He raised one shoulder. "I don't need a party." Dad ignored him. "We could have him make the announcement at the restaurant," he continued. "Maybe bring a small cake with the dealership logo." "A second cake? It would be tasteful." Mom stared at her plate. I knew this pattern. If I refused too quickly, Dad would tell everyone I was jealous. If I agreed to everything, Evan's possible job would become the main event. So I proposed a compromise. "Evan can make a short announcement after dinner. No separate decorations. No second cake. The breakfast stays focused on the scholarship. Dad smiled. See? That wasn't difficult. I should have noticed that he did not actually agree. 9 days before graduation, I received a call from a woman in the scholarship office. Leah, I'm confirming that you want to withdraw from the recognition breakfast. I thought I had misunderstood her. I don't want to withdraw. There was a pause followed by the sound of typing. We received an email requesting that your name be removed from the breakfast program. From me? Not exactly. It came from someone identifying himself as your father and emergency contact. My hands went cold. What did it say? The woman hesitated. He said you were overwhelmed by the attention and that public recognition could create a difficult family situation. He asked that we respect your privacy. I looked around the hotel office, although no one else was there. The lobby camera showed an empty front desk and a row of silent luggage carts. I never authorized that. All right, I'll note the file. We will need written confirmation from you before restoring your place. I'll send it now. After the call, I logged into my student account and wrote a brief statement confirming that I wanted to attend. Then I called Dad. He answered with music playing in the background. Did you contact my university? What? Someone emailed the scholarship office and tried to cancel my recognition breakfast. He was silent for half a second too long. That sounds like an administrative mistake. They said the email came from my father. Then maybe they misunderstood something I said. What did you say? I called with a question about parking. You emailed them. Leah, I contact dozens of people every week. I don't remember every message. It was about canceling my ceremony. Not a ceremony, a breakfast. The correction told me he knew exactly what I was talking about. I asked him directly. Did you ask them to remove my name? His voice changed. It became softer, patient, and disappointed. That was the voice he used when he wanted me to feel unreasonable. I told them there were family concerns. You've been under enormous stress. Your mother and I didn't want you pushed into giving some emotional speech about hardship. I'm not giving a speech. Good, then nothing has been lost. Something almost was. Leah, do you really want the university presenting you as some poor abandoned child who survived without help? The words hit harder than I expected. My scholarship application was truthful. I didn't say it wasn't. You just implied it. I'm saying there are many ways to tell a story. No, there are many ways to hide one. He ended the call. That evening, Dad posted a message in our extended family group chat. Leah has decided the scholarship breakfast may be too overwhelming, so we're giving her space. We will still celebrate graduation together. Since Evan has exciting career news, we may also raise a glass to his new beginning. Within minutes, relatives began responding. A cousin congratulated Evan. My grandmother wrote that she hoped I was taking care of my mental health. Aunt Rachel messaged me privately. I'm sorry you won't be at the breakfast. Your father said you were uncomfortable with people discussing the financial help you received. I read the message 3 times. Then I called her. What financial help? Aunt Rachel went quiet. The tuition money. What tuition money? Another pause. The money I sent your father. I sat down on the edge of my bed. How much did you send him? Not all at once, a few thousand the first year. Then smaller amounts when he said you were struggling. My mouth went dry. My father never gave me tuition money. That can't be right. I paid my tuition through wages, federal aid, and scholarships. But Martin told us he was covering the difference. He wasn't. Aunt Rachel began speaking faster. Over 4 years, she had transferred a little more than $12,000 to Dad. 2 other relatives had contributed smaller amounts. Dad told them I was too proud to ask directly, so they should send the money through him. I opened my laptop and pulled up my university billing history. Every payment was familiar. My federal grant. My student loan. My scholarship credits. My debit card. There was no payment from Dad. Not one. Aunt Rachel whispered. Then where did it go? I knew the obvious answer, but I was not ready to say it. I don't know. The next morning, I met my friend Nia after my shift. Nia worked with me at the hotel and had spent 3 years listening to me explain why my family's behavior was never as bad as it sounded. We sat in a booth near the kitchen while breakfast staff prepared the buffet. I told her about the canceled ceremony and Aunt Rachel's transfers. Nia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to talk to Dad." "You already did." "He didn't know I knew about the money." "You think that will make him honest?" "I think it will make it harder for him to lie." Nia looked toward the lobby. "Leah, your father contacted your university and pretended to speak for you. Then he told your family a different story before you could correct it. He was trying to avoid embarrassment. Whose embarrassment? I did not answer. She leaned forward. At work, what do you do when the totals don't match? I traced the entries. Do that. It sounded cold when she said it. That was probably why it helped. I created a spreadsheet. In the first column, I listed every tuition payment I had made. In the second, I listed every scholarship and grant. In the third, I began recording what relatives said they had sent Dad. Aunt Rachel forwarded transfer confirmations going back 5 years. The payment notes were simple. Leah tuition. Leah fall semester. Books for Leah. One transfer for $4,000 had been sent 6 days before Dad gave Evan the deposit for his sneaker business. That could have been a coincidence. Then I found an old family group message from Evan. Dad saved the business, supplier paid, we're back. The timestamp was the morning after Rachel's transfer. It was still not proof. Dad could have used different money. Families reuse the same accounts, dates overlap, but for the first time I stopped asking whether there was an innocent explanation. I started asking whether the innocent explanation fit the facts. I went to my parents' house that Saturday. Dad was in the garage polishing his car. Mom stood near the washing machine folding towels. I placed copies of the transfers on the workbench. Aunt Rachel sent you money for my tuition. Dad glanced at the pages. She helped the family. She wrote my name in every payment note. That was her choice. Did you use any of this money for my tuition? I supported you for 18 years. That isn't what I asked. He set down the cloth. I paid for your food, your clothes, your school trips, and the roof over your head. When you went to college, this family was still recovering financially. I moved out before my second semester. And who helped with your deposit? You lent me $600. I paid it back. His jaw tightened. You are reducing parenthood to a spreadsheet. No, I'm asking where $12,000 went. Mom stopped folding. Dad looked at her. Denise, would you explain to your daughter that household money does not come with individual labels? Mom's fingers pressed into the towel. Martin handled the finances. Did you know Aunt Rachel thought the money was paying my tuition? I asked. Mom avoided my eyes. That is not the same as saying she controlled how it was used. The phrase sounded rehearsed. I turned back to Dad. Did you spend it on Evan's business? Evan was not in the room, but Dad still lowered his voice. Your brother needed help at a critical time. So did I. You always had options. I worked nights. And you succeeded. That proves I was right about you. I stared at him. He genuinely believed that my ability to survive justified his decision to help someone else. You don't get credit for the fact that I survived what you chose not to help with. Dad's face hardened. This is exactly why I contacted the university. You are turning a family misunderstanding into a public accusation. You contacted the university because you didn't want Rachel hearing how I paid for school. That award describes you as financially unsupported. I was financially unsupported. You were emotionally supported. Not by the person trying to cancel it. Mom whispered my name. I gathered the papers. Before leaving, I said, the graduation dinner is no longer a joint celebration. There will be no announcement for Evan, no banner, no second cake, and no speech about how much you sacrificed for me. Dad crossed his arms. You're making a mistake. No, I'm making a boundary. He laughed once. You always did like professional words for family cruelty. I left before he could pull me into another argument. For 2 days, I felt stronger. Then the scholarship office called again. This time, it was not about the breakfast. A formal complaint had been submitted claiming I had misrepresented my financial circumstances on my scholarship application. The complaint stated that my father had contributed more than $38,000 toward my education. Until the claim could be reviewed, my public recognition was being paused. My name had already been removed from the final honors insert. I would still receive my degree, but I might lose the award and the small grant attached to it. I had also been scheduled to introduce the scholarship director at the breakfast. That role was suspended. The complaint included a summary of supposed payments from Dad. Most were ordinary family expenses from years before college, dental bills from when I was 15, a summer camp fee, groceries, my $600 apartment loan, listed without the repayments I had made. He had taken the cost of raising me and repackaged it as proof that he funded my adult education. The university was not accusing me of fraud, but it had to investigate. Dad had found the one institution whose approval mattered to me and placed doubt inside it. He won again. My relatives began calling. Grandma asked why I was humiliating my parents over money. One uncle said scholarships should go to students whose families had truly abandoned them. A cousin told me I had always been competitive with Evan. Dad posted another message. We are heartbroken that a private financial disagreement has escalated. We love both of our children equally and hope Leah chooses healing over conflict. He did not mention contacting the university. He did not mention trying to cancel the breakfast. He did not mention Aunt Rachel's money. That night, I arrived at work and entered the wrong amount into a corporate account. It was a small error and I caught it before the shift ended, but I had not made a mistake like that in years. I locked myself in the employee restroom and sat on the closed toilet lid. For most of my life, I had believed that if I stayed calm enough, worked hard enough, and explained everything clearly enough, Dad would eventually have to treat me fairly. The complaint proved something I had avoided admitting. He understood me. He knew exactly what mattered to me. That was why he knew where to apply pressure. Nia found me after 20 minutes. I told her I was considering withdrawing from the award. If I step away, the university won't have to investigate, I said. The graduation can just happen. And your father's version becomes the official one. I'm tired. I know. I don't want every good thing in my life to require a trial. Nia sat beside me. Then stop putting him on the jury. I covered my face. I gave him the power because I wanted him to be proud of me. Are you ready to graduate without that? IDO. That question hurt more than anything Dad had said, because the answer had to be yes. The next morning, I emailed the scholarship office and requested a formal review. I attached my complete tuition ledger, pay records, scholarship statements, loan history, apartment repayment records, and the messages from Aunt Rachel. I did not write about favoritism. I did not describe childhood birthdays or award ceremonies. I wrote dates, amounts, and sources. Then I canceled the restaurant reservation. The manager told me my father had already called to change the booking name from Leah's graduation dinner to Morgan Family Celebration. He had also increased the guest count and asked whether the restaurant could display a sign reading, "Congratulations, Leah and Evan." I asked the manager to cancel it entirely. Dad called within 10 minutes. You had no right to cancel a reservation I paid for. It was my graduation dinner. It was a family event. It isn't happening. You are punishing everyone because you didn't get enough attention. I am not discussing this again. Your mother has spent weeks planning. Then you and Mom can have dinner with Evan. You will regret excluding your family. I'm not asking you to agree, I'm telling you what happens next. It was the shortest conversation we had ever had. 2 days later, Evan came to my apartment. I almost did not let him in. He stood in the hallway holding a paper bag from the diner near my building. I brought food, he said. I'm not hungry. I am, so technically it's for me. That was the kind of joke that usually made me soften. This time, I kept my hand on the door. Did you know Dad used money meant for my tuition? Evan looked down. I knew he helped me. That isn't what I asked. I didn't know where the money came from. When did you learn? His silence answered. Before or after the complaint? After you talked to him in the garage? And you said nothing. He told me Rachel gave the money to the family, not to you. The transfer notes had my name. I never saw them. But you knew enough to ask. Evan ran a hand through his hair. Dad said if the scholarship thing became public, everyone would think I stole your education. Did you? No. Then why are you helping him hide it? He leaned against the wall. Because every time I mess up, he fixes it. Do you know how terrifying it is to realize all those fixes may have belonged to someone else? Moine. For the first time, he sounded less like the favored child and more like someone who understood the cost of being protected from consequences. He took out his phone. I found the old supplier payment. Dad transferred me $4,000 the day after Rachel sent him $4,000. Will you send me the record? Evan hesitated. If I do, he'll say I betrayed him. He contacted my university. I know. He is already asking me to pay for your loyalty. Evan closed his eyes. Then he sent the screenshot. I'm sorry, he said. I waited for the usual ending, the request that I forgive him, the explanation that Dad made everything complicated. It did not come. I'll give the money back, Evan said. I can't do it all at once, but I'll make a plan with Rachel. That is between you and her. He nodded. I know. After he left, I added the supplier payment to my timeline. It was another link, but it still did not prove why Dad had tried to cancel the scholarship ceremony. That answer came from my mother. The night before graduation, she called me at 11:43. Her voice was barely audible. Your father thinks I'm asleep. I sat up in bed. Are you safe? Yes, he isn't violent. Safety was a complicated word in our family, Mom continued. I should have stopped him. Stopped what? The email. Which email? Which email? She began crying. 3 weeks before Dad contacted the scholarship office, he had emailed Mom about the graduation weekend. He wrote that Aunt Rachel would be at the award breakfast and would probably ask questions if the university described me as self-funded. He said canceling the recognition would avoid an unnecessary family audit. He also wrote that shifting attention toward Evan's new job would give everyone a positive reason for changing the plans. Mom had replied with one sentence. Maybe Leah will understand that Evan needs this more right now. The exact words Dad used later. My mother had not merely stayed silent. She had agreed. Why are you telling me now? I asked. Because he submitted the complaint using expense records I gave him. The room felt suddenly smaller. You helped him? I thought he was going to show you how much raising a family cost. I didn't know he would send it to the university. You knew he canceled the breakfast. Yes. You watched me blame myself. I was trying to keep the family together. No, you were helping him decide which part of the family could be sacrificed. She cried harder. I did not comfort her. After a while, she said, I forwarded the email chain to you. My phone vibrated. There it was. Dad's message. Mom's reply. Dates. The phrase unnecessary family audit. The plan to use Evan's announcement as a distraction. The admission that Rachel might discover the truth. The email did not prove every dollar had been misused. It did something more important for the university review. It proved that Dad's complaint was not a good faith concern about scholarship eligibility. It was part of a plan to prevent public scrutiny. Mom said, I'll come tomorrow and tell them. You don't have to rescue me. I know. You do have to tell the truth. I will. And after tomorrow, I need space from both of you. She breathed in sharply. How much space? I don't know yet. I'm your mother. That is a relationship, not unlimited access. She was quiet. For once, she did not argue. Graduation morning arrived with heavy clouds and a threat of rain. I wore my gown over a blue dress Nia had helped me choose. My hands shook while I fastened the hood around my shoulders. At 7:30, I entered a conference room beside the student union. Dean Patel sat at the head of the table with the scholarship director and a university compliance officer. Dad was already there. He had brought a folder thick enough to look authoritative. Mom sat 2 chairs away from him. Evan stood near the wall. Dad looked surprised when Aunt Rachel entered behind me. He recovered quickly. This is becoming a spectacle, he said. Dean Patel asked everyone to sit. Dad presented his story first. He said he had financially supported me for years. He said I had become resentful because Evan needed more help during a difficult period. He claims the scholarship description falsely implied that I had been abandoned. He spoke calmly. If I had not lived inside his version of our family, I might have believed him. Then he said, Leah has always been capable. Evan has struggled. She knows how to land on her feet. Her brother needed this day more. The room went still. I opened my folder. I have one email I would like added to the review. I handed the printed chain to Dean Patel. Dad's face changed when he recognized it. Dean Patel read the first paragraph aloud. If Leah is recognized publicly, Rachel will start asking where the tuition money went. Dad leaned forward. That is being taken out of context. The compliance officer asked, What is the correct context? Dad looked at Mom. She did not help him. Dean Patel continued reading. We should ask the university to remove Leah from the breakfast. We can shift the family plans toward Evan's new position. That gives everyone a positive explanation. Dad interrupted. I was protecting both of my children from a humiliating public conflict. I placed Aunt Rachel's transfer records beside the email. These payments were labeled for my tuition. None reached my university account. Aunt Rachel confirmed that Dad had told her the money was being used for my education. Evan stepped away from the wall. The $4,000 payment went to my supplier, he said. Dad sent it the morning after Rachel transferred the same amount. Dad turned on him. You do not understand how family finances work. I understand that you told me it was your money. It became family money when it entered my account. Dean Patel looked at the complaint. Mr. Morgan, you stated here that you personally contributed $38,000 directly to Leah's education. I contributed to her life. That is not what the complaint says. Dad changed direction. Maybe the wording was imperfect, but the larger issue remains. Leah benefited from years of family support and then represented herself as entirely independent. I opened my tuition ledger. Every payment is documented. The university can verify each source. My father's list includes expenses from when I was a minor, a loan I repaid, and household costs unrelated to college. Kochu. The scholarship director asked whether Dad had made any direct tuition payment. He could not identify one. Mom finally spoke. I gave Martin the old expense records. I knew he had contacted the university before. I knew he wanted the breakfast canceled because Rachel might ask about the money. Dad stared at her. You told me this was best for the family. I was wrong. You are saying that because Leah has turned everyone against me. No, Mom said. I'm saying it because I helped you. That was the moment his control began to collapse. Not because everyone suddenly hated him. Not because he confessed. Because each version of his story required a different set of facts. He had funded my education, except he could not identify a payment. The money was for the whole family, except he had told Rachel it was for me. The complaint was about scholarship integrity, except he had planned to cancel the recognition before raising any concern. The joint celebration was meant to support both children, except the email described Evan's announcement as a distraction. Dean Patel did not make a speech. She asked the compliance officer for a recommendation. The university confirmed that my scholarship application had accurately described my finances. My award was restored. My introduction at the breakfast was reinstated, although the printed honors insert could not be changed in time. The compliance officer also stated that Dad would no longer be treated as an authorized contact. Any future communication from him regarding my records would be ignored unless I provided written consent. Then Dean Patel turned to me. Your guest tickets remain yours. You may decide who attends. Dad looked at me as if the answer were obvious. We can discuss this privately, he said. No. Leah, you tried to remove me from my own recognition. You filed a false complaint when I questioned you. You used money sent in my name and then called my survival proof that I did not need it. I made mistakes. You made decisions. I was trying to protect Evan. You were protecting the story where you were generous. His face tightened. You would exclude your own father from your graduation? I am excluding the person who tried to cancel it. He glanced toward Mom. And her? I looked at my mother. She had told the truth, but only after helping him twice. Mom may attend the ceremony, I said. After today, I need her to respect a period of no contact while I decide what kind of relationship is possible. Mom nodded with tears in her eyes. Dad laughed bitterly. So she gets forgiveness because she cried? She did not get forgiveness, she accepted a boundary. I took the guest ticket I had originally reserved for Dad and handed it to Nia. He left before the scholarship breakfast began. No one applauded. Aunt Rachel sat in the front row. Nia sat beside her. Evan chose a seat near the back. Mom remained at the edge of the room and did not approach me. 3 of the 4 chairs I had reserved were filled. The 4th stayed empty. When my name was announced, I walked to the front and accepted the award. The scholarship director described my night shifts, my accounting degree, and the years I had spent paying my way through school. For once, no one interrupted to explain that another person needed the moment more. Later that afternoon, I crossed the main stage. The honors insert did not contain my name, but Dean Patel shook my hand and quietly said, "Records can be corrected." I understood what she meant. The printed program would always be incomplete. The official university file would not. The same became true of my family. Aunt Rachel asked Dad to repay the money she had sent. When he refused, she began a formal mediation process. I did not participate. The dispute belonged to the people who had made and received those transfers. Evan sold most of the remaining sneaker inventory and arranged monthly repayments with her. He found a regular sales job several weeks later, but no one threw him a party. He sent me one message. I spent years thinking being protected meant I was loved more. I'm starting to understand it also kept me from becoming someone I respected. I replied that I hoped he followed through. I did not tell him everything was fine. It was not. Mom moved into my aunt's guest room for a while. She began counseling and sent me one letter that did not contain the word but. She listed what she had done. She did not ask me to forgive her. Months later, I agreed to meet her in a public cafe for 30 minutes. When the time ended, she did not ask for more. That mattered more than the tears. Dad sent 7 emails. Each one began with an apology and ended with a reason I had forced his hand. I did not respond. I changed my emergency contacts, removed my parents from every account that still listed them, and replaced the spare apartment key I had once given Mom. The hotel promoted me to assistant accounting manager after graduation. On my first Monday in the new position, I arrived early and found Nia placing a paper bag on my desk. "Breakfast," she said. Aunt Rachel joined us before work. Evan had sent pastries but did not assume that meant he was invited. We ate around the small conference table while morning light came through the lobby windows. There were no banners. No speeches. No second celebration hidden inside mine. Every chair at the table had been chosen by the person sitting in it. For years, I thought keeping the peace meant giving up my place before anyone had to ask. Graduation taught me something different. Peace was not an empty chair. It was finally knowing that I did not have to surrender mine. Thank you for listening to Reddit Gossip R. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories.